Shalom, shalom, Israel. First and foremost, all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bashem, Yahweh Shai. You know what I'm saying? We do so through his spirit, man, the Holy Spirit, man, to be able to do these lessons, man. So, man, I just want to come, man, with a quick lesson, man. Christians had to answer this question because a lot of people love to say that, hey, Christ was sent to all people. You know what I'm saying? But when you actually read the Bible, when you first of all, when you start off in the law and in the prophets and in the Psalms, you read about the things that Hamashiach Yahweh Shai, who the world calls Jesus Christ, came to fulfill. He came to fulfill suffering, dying, and resurrecting for the nation of Israel, right? So I want to start in Matthew 10, and I want to, start on this real quick, and then we have to just, answer this question real quick. If Christ was sent to all, why would he command his own apostles to not go to no Gentile? This is Matthew 10 and 1. And when he called unto him his 12 disciples, he gave them power against unclean spirits to cast them out and to heal all manner of sickness and all manner of disease. Now the names of the 12 apostles are these: the first, Simon, who was called Peter; Andrew his brother; James the son of Zebedee; and John his brother; and Philip and Bartholomew; Thomas and Matthew the publican; James the son of Alphaeus; and Labius, whose surname was Thaddeus; Simon the Canaanite; and Judas Iscariot, who also betrayed him. These 12 Yahweh Shai, or Jesus, sent forth and commanded them, saying, Go not into the way of the Gentiles, and into any city of the Samaritans enter ye not. So if Christ was sent for all man, why would he just say, go not into the way of the Gentiles? That's plain upon text. We can all read. I hope we all have an education in this American system to read and write. Jesus literally, or who you call Jesus, Yahweh Shai, said out his own mouth, go not into the way of the Gentiles, and into any city of the Samaritans enter ye not, but go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And as ye go, preach, saying the kingdom of heaven is at hand. So Christ said out his own mouth, go to the lost sheep and preach to them that the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Now, one would ask, why would Christ say don't go to Samaria? Let's go to the so-called Old Testament, the book of 2 Kings. And let's get 17 real quick, because why would Christ say don't go to the Gentiles or the city of Samaria? Matter of fact, let's see what Samaria is. Let's get the book of Isaiah, chapter 7. And let's get verse 9. It says, and the head of Ephraim is Samaria. Ephraim is the head of the northern kingdom. Samaria is in the northern region of Israel. The head of Samaria is Ramaliah's son. If you believe not, surely you shall not be established, right? So Christ literally just said, don't go to the Samaritans. Because why? They're not Israelites. The Samaritans were a mixed multitude of Gentiles. Because if you're familiar with history, the northern kingdom Israelites got deported to what? Assyria around 722 to 721 BCE. That means that literally Shalmaneser put Gentiles in the Holy Land in the northern kingdom. That's why Christ said don't go there, because they're not Israelites. There's no point in preaching to them saying the kingdom is at hand if what? They're not Israelites. Let's get this in 2 Kings. Let's get this real quick. 2 Kings. And let's get verse 17. It says, in the 12th year of Ahaz, king of Judah, began Hosea, the son of Elah, to reign in Samaria over Israel 9 years, right? So this is the last little end of the northern kingdom Israelites. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Most High, but not as the kings of Israel that were before him. And against him came up Shalmaneser, king of Assyria, and Hosea became his servant and gave him presents. And the king of Assyria found conspiracy in Hosea, for he had sent messengers to So, king of Egypt, and brought no present to the king of Assyria, as he had done year by year. Therefore the king of Assyria shut him up and bound him in prison, right? Then the king of Assyria came up throughout all the land and went up to Samaria and besieged it 3 years, right? This is real historical evidence. You can actually look this up in the I forgot what that Syrian artifact is. And when I find it, I'm gonna put it in this video. I'm gonna put a screenshot on the video so you can see for yourself. It says, in the 9th year of Hosea, the king of Assyria took Samaria and carried Israel away into Assyria and placed them in Halah and in Habor by the river Gozan in the cities of the Medes, right? For so it was that the children of Israel had sinned against the Most High their God, which brought them out of the land of Egypt from under the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and had feared other gods, right? So the Most High God put it in the king of Shalmaneser, a real man historically, that came up against Samaria, besieged it, and deported over, I would say 27,000 northern kingdom Israelites, right? But this is the point of why Christ or Yahushua said in the New Testament, don't go to the city of Samaria. Let's see why. For the children of Israel, which is talking about the northern kingdom right here, and all the sins of Jeroboam, which he did, they departed not from them, right? Because King Jeroboam in 1 Kings 12 built 2 golden calves, one in Bethel, one in Dan, and it became a snare to the house of Israel, the northern kingdom, and idol worship was heavy in the northern kingdom. Until the Most High removed Israel out of his sight, as he had said by all his servants, the prophets, right? When you read Hosea, he prophesied and said that the northern kingdom would go to Egypt or bondage by the Assyrians. That's Hosea, I think, the 9th chapter, the third verse. You see, the Lord spoke by many, Isaiah, many different prophets the Lord spoke to about, the northern kingdom, Israelites. It says, so was Israel carried away out of their own land to Assyria unto this day, right? You still got remnants of northern kingdom that's living in modern day Iraq, modern day Turkey, northeast Turkey, places that, the Syrian Empire was in ancient times. Nowadays they go by, different titles like Iraq and, stuff like that. It says the king of Assyria brought men from Babylon and from Cutha and from Ava and from Hamath and from Sepharim and placed them in the cities of Samaria instead of the children of Israel, and they possessed Samaria and dwelt in the cities thereof. So when we get to the New Testament, when you actually read the Bible from front to back, why did Yahushua say right here, go not into the way of the Gentiles and into any city of the Samaritans. Enter ye not. Because why? Shalmaneser, king of Assyria, in 722 to 721 BCE, put non-Israelite people in the land of Samaria. He put these people in verse 24 from Babylon, from Cutha, from Ava, from Hamath, and from Seraphim, and put them in the land of Samaria. That's why Yahushua told his disciples, look, don't go to the Gentiles and don't go to the Samaritans. Go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel, and as ye go, preach saying the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Because why? The kingdom of heaven is for the Israelites. Don't get me mistaken. Other nations will be there, but they will be in servitude, because it will be a hierarchy when Yasharallah come back to the top. Because right now, like Christ said in that parable, the first is going to be last and the last will be first, right? These nations are first and we're last, but in the kingdom of heaven, Lord willing to be there, man, the nation of Israel will be back on top and the nations will be last, man. Let's stay in the same book. Let's go to chapter 15. Classic precept, Matthew 15, verse number 22. Let's start at verse 21. Then Yahushua went thence and departed into the coast of Tyre and Zidon. And behold, a woman of Canaan came out of the same coast and cried unto him, saying, Have mercy on me, O Lord, thou son of David. My daughter is grievously vexed with a devil. But he answered her not a word, and his disciples came and besought him, saying, Send her away, for she crieth after us. Let's see what Christ said out his own mouth. Christians need to answer this question. But he answered and said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Right? Then came she and worshipped him, saying, Lord, help me. But he answered and said, It's not meet to take the children's bread and cast it to dogs. Meaning what? Who is the bread of life? Yahushua. It's not profitable to cast it to another nation. You know, right now is not the time to be trying to do that. You know, it's right time to get our people to repent. All nations will flow into Israel and learn the ways of Yahweh Shem Yahushua in the kingdom of heaven. But right now, our main focus is to gather the tribes of Israel. You know, so when Shiloh, Yahushua comes, that it'll be a house without spot, without wrinkle, man. You know, we're putting on our new garments, man, spiritually, man. Right? And then it says, and she said, Truth, Lord, yet the dogs eat of the crumbs which fall from their master's table. Then Yahushua answered, said unto her, O woman, great is thy faith. Be it unto thee as thou wilt. And her daughter was made whole from that very hour, right? So, you know, great was that woman's faith. I'll commend her. I'll tip my hat. You know, she had a lot of faith to still ask for, you know, a request from Yahushua, and he gave it to her. You know, a little piece of the crumb, not the whole loaf. Just gave her a little piece of the crumb. You know, like how you you say like, I got a dog. He sits right by my foot and watches me eat. I give him like a little bit of it, but it's not the whole plate. Because the whole plate is going to me. That's the same way with, you know, on the spiritual bread, the bread of life, Yahushua. You know, it goes to the children of Israel, but don't get me wrong. All nations will be blessed through the nation of Israel when we come back on top and we teach everybody the commandments of God. You know, but salvation is primarily for the Israelites to be saved from captivity. You know, but man. And let's get one last one. What is that? Let's get this real quick. Let's get this John 14. So somebody got to answer this. It says, John 14:24, He that loveth me not, keepeth not my sayings. What is Yahushua sayings? All the parables that he spoke from Matthew all the way to John, Mark, Luke. Those are the sayings. And what? And the word which ye hear is not mine, but the Father's which sent me. Yahushua, everything he spoke from Matthew, Mark, Luke, John was the words of the Most High. So when Yahushua literally told his disciples, go not to the Gentiles, just imagine if the Father told Yahushua to say that. In Matthew 15, when he literally said, I'm not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel, who told Yahushua that? Let's go back to John 14 real quick, and let's get verse 24 again. It says, the word which ye hear is not mine, but the Father's which sent me. It's another one. I'm thinking about it. My doctrine is not mine. Let me see. I know I'm looking for it. I know it's in the New Testament. Let's see. It's in the New Testament. That might have been it, but yeah, there we go. All praise to John 7:16. It says, Yahushua answered them and said, my doctrine is not mine, but his that sent me. Right? So the doctrine that Christ spoke boldly was the words of the Most High. That means every word that Yahushua said in the New Testament is the Father basically speaking through him. So Christ said out his own mouth, he sent to the lost sheep. He commanded his apostles, the disciples, not to go to no Gentile. Where's the contradiction at? It's not. It's precept must be upon precept. It's why it's very important, like the Apostle Paul said, to study to show yourself approved. Because if you never read the so-called Old Testament, you will never understand the New Testament, which is a renewed covenant of Israel with the Most High through Hamashiach Yahushua. You know, but with that, I digress to give all honor and praise to Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. I'm going to say shalom. Keep